finish your homework?
Yes, Granny. I finished long time.
You finish long time and you just start? You always listen to that song. Walk it down. You need to walk down your school book so your brain can bubble and a bubble and a bubble. Come bring the homework, let me see. Why not on the page?
Granny, remember you say you can't see too good now.
Look boy, the skylark with me. You need to study your schoolwork like you have no tomorrow. If you only come in my house with any ridiculous grades, the only Superman can help you and me don't throw away your body, boy. Oh, I must think you could take me to the rehab.
What? Granny is sharp.
Yes, not only my foot can't fail me, my brain can't fail. Now do the real homework and when you finish, put on red hot radio.
For what, Granny?
For Auntie Pearl after school lessons. It is educational, informative and entertaining. And there'll be lots of prizes and surprises.
Auntie Pearl's After School Lessons is fully endorsed by the Ministry of Education. We say good evening to those who are joining us. Good evening, Auntie M.
Well, good evening, Auntie Pearl.
What's going on for you?
Girl, not much cracking today.
Enjoying the weather?
Oh, definitely.
Beautiful.
I was so ready for a little bit of showers of blessings.
Alrighty. And we have a good program for you today. Jen in secondary school is in the house. Applause. Nice. I love it.
You got people.
All right, so we'll hear from that student a little later in the program. All right. Nice. So nice.
Fabulous.
Okay. So what I want to do, though, is we're going to get right into the first category, which is the human body. But I think I needed to finalize some things about the skin. And just briefly, because I need to say to the students that bearing in mind that the skin is the covering of the entire body, then it shows signs of any illnesses, diseases, damage, or injury. So if there is a rash on the skin, something is going on. If there is any, and that's different to the bleaching, right? That's a different show. If there is any discoloration of the skin, something is going on. Also, there is as much as 1/2 of the total blood supply of the body that is being distributed to the skin. So if the blood needs cleaning, there will be changes to the skin as well. Now, the color of the skin depends partly on the blood supply, but mostly on melanin. And I've noticed that in my studies, at least, well, even in science and biology in school, they don't talk much about melanin. I don't see that much in the textbook. And so we're going to go a little bit more into that. Well, someone will come in and talk about that sometime, later in the month or the year, let's say. All right? That's very important because melanin really has to do a lot with who we are as a people, as the black race. All right. Now, there are appendages associated with the skin. And so, students, if this is the first time you're hearing the word appendages, it also means in addition to or an extension of. And the appendages are the glands of the skin and also the hair and the nails. So, Auntie M, if I say you have nice appendages, you have nice hair and nice nails. All
Absolutely.
Right, that's all I'm saying. Okay.
I received that.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. And the two types of duct glands, which are sudoriferous or sweat glands and sebaceous glands or oil glands. I just wanted to touch a little bit on the sweat glands. The sweat glands are controlled by the autonomic nervous system, which we're going to talk about that a little later as well, and are located in the dermis. And these are abundant in the armpits, the soles of the feet, the palms of the hands, or the forehead. So if somebody sweats a lot, I'm going to tell you, you're sudoriferous. Or let's give it a nice word, you're sudorific. If they can say swaggerific, you're sudorific.
Go ahead, coin your term, girl. Coin your term.
Okay, and the hair and the nails, as we said, are appendages of the skin as well. And they are composed of a protein known as hard keratin. All right, before we get into logics, please permit me to change my brain. Hear that? You don't hear my brain changing yet? Hear that?
Was that clicking sound? Oh, that.
That was nice. What a sound. All right.
Ooh.
That's the sound of my other brain.
Your brainy brain?
Okay, so now we get into the logical brain. All right, and we continue to read from the book by Dr. Charles Ephraim, How to Be Your Own Person. And I quote, "Self-understanding and the understanding of others would be impossible without the capacity and willingness to submit our ideas. about ourselves and the world to critical scrutiny. It is through a critical evaluation of ideas that we come to learn that some things are important while others are fundamentally insignificant, that some new beliefs are true while some long-settled, cherished beliefs are false and even harmful. End of quote. Auntie I think Dr. Charles Ephraim want to get some people mad because persons might be saying, you try to tell me something that I believed so long was false. So that's where I am with that. But I just love the guy. I just love this philosopher. What are your thoughts?
I'm thinking that he's trying to shake up people's fundamental belief systems, asking us to hold on a minute, wait for it, think. I know it's a loaded word. Think. Not just take, kind of wholesale what you've been taught or what you've observed. We tend to, it's consistent in any culture. You're going to find that we've grown up believing certain things, adhering to certain things, belief systems, values, attitudes, and very rarely do we ever challenge them. When people go off to college or university, then yes, you find that when you get into your philosophies and your humanity classes, your liberal arts classes, there is some conversation, but generally we accept the status quo as gospel. And so for him to take the bold step to say, you know what, maybe Granny wasn't completely right, or maybe there's more to what Granny thought. Let's add to it, let's massage it, let's talk about it. It can be a little dicey because there's some things that we consider sacred cows, if you will. And people can get a little bit touchy.
They hold those beliefs very dear to them.
Yes.
That's all they've known.
And to take away something that has been fundamental to shaping who I am and, what it is that I do and who I perceive myself to be within the context of this human family, it can be a little challenging for a lot of folk. What did you take away from that?
That it does we need a level of reasoning, and I can understand what he's saying too, because many of us, we believe the same things now as we did when we were 10. Really and truly, how can we believe or even understand the same way? With, I don't know if I should say comes with age, which I do believe it does.
Some of it, I agree.
But that's the most, and I'm still trying to digest it. I really am.
Yeah, and when you have opportunities to stimulate thought, to stimulate dialogue, I think that's also a key, if you will, a key to unlocking those again, strongly held belief systems. They will tell you there's a common saying, they say, don't discuss politics and religion.
Else you get nowhere.
Right, and I think those are some key areas where that type of conversation that the good doctor is talking about would probably have some of the greatest impact, because especially around issues of faith, that's usually where our value system emanates from. That's usually where we tap into when we hope and when we work at defining who we are. And so I just think he was way ahead of his time, definitely visionary, and certainly willing to step out and say some things that maybe wouldn't have gone over so well in his time and even contemporarily.
True.
Yeah.
And so that's why we are doing this as well, so that young people can develop the process of critical thinking.
Correct. And critical thinking does not mean argumentation. What it means is having meaningful dialogue and exchange. And there is no right or wrong answer so much as it's everybody's perspective. And we have to respect that and have rich conversations around that. Who knows? We might shake something out of that old family tree, or I don't know. We could split the atom. Those things came from probably conversations and thought and outside of what was quote unquote normal or accepted. It's really important that we constantly revisit what we think to be the facts. Didn't they just D planet, one of the planets in our solar system.
How did that go? We went
Yeah,
that.
that was a few months ago. I want to say it was Pluto, if I remember correctly.
I'll check on that.
Yes,
Okay.
please. I'm going to check my facts. But somebody was like, oh, no, there are not 9 planets in our solar system anymore. There are only 8 because one of them they decided didn't meet the criteria to be classified as a planet. I'm like, really? When did that happen? I didn't get the memo, you know? So again, even in science, we see that we are constantly rethinking and reframing what we believe to be true about humanity, the human race, the world around us, you know, our environment. So we as human beings need to be willing and able to have the courage to constantly question ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's an okay thing.
There is a science channel. The motto is question everything.
Absolutely.
You know, there was a time when you couldn't, eh? There was
Absolutely.
a
Yes,
time
and
when
that's
we couldn't-
another
couldn't question
absolutely.
everything. Well, we want to encourage the students to read and study and research more.
You're right.
You know, and challenge what you read.
Correct.
You know, have mind-stimulating conversations with people.
Mhm.
There's still people out there who are willing to do that. You know?
Uh-huh. I mean, question your questions. Even the questions that you're asking, take a look at the question. So tonight, I thought we'd tackle the topic of adjectives. Adjectives.
They were long.
Love them. It makes the language colorful. It makes it interesting. Adds movement and texture and life. I love adjectives. Adjectives are those words in your sentence that identifies or rather answers 3 basic questions. Either how many, what kind of, or which one. How many? Let me give you an example of that. A few good men. How many good men? A few. Tells you how many. What kind of? The pink balloon. Or I could say actually, well, yeah, that would work. But I'm going to give you another example as well. So what kind of balloon? The pink balloon. You also can, when you talk about what kind of, you can also talk about it in terms of dimension. The round balloon, the elongated balloon. So that again would also describe which one, or what kind of rather, which one. That pink balloon. Which balloon? That pink balloon. Tells you which balloon. So it helps to separate or identify or elucidate.
Students, write that word down.
Go ahead then. Go ahead. Did I say elucidate? Hello? Hello?
Yes, you did.
I know. I'm hearing an echo. But those are just simple examples of adjectives. We use adjectives every day in language. We talk about a red car, a fast car, a souped-up car. Even if we talk about the make and model of a car, like, for instance, I drive a Ford Mustang. Ford describes the type of car. Mustang describes the type of car. You get more specific. One of the things that adjectives will do too, it changes the picture in your mind. So if I said, I drive a car, that does one
Just
thing. It
thinking
creates
car.
one picture because we think in pictures. That's the nature of the way we think. If I say, I drive a big car, picture changes. I drive a big 4-wheel or 8-wheel car, picture changes. I drive a big 4-door, 4-wheel, 8-wheel car, picture changes. So adjectives help to create dynamism in our speech. Dynamism. So you elucidate around dynamism, or we can be dynamic around elucidation. Let me stop. But with respect to adjectives, again, an adjective will answer 3 different questions. How many, what kind of, and which one. And so as you are dissecting your sentence, you're trying to identify which word or words are adjectives. You're looking for those words that answer one of those 3 questions. What kind of car? How many cars? Which car? How many, what kind of, and which one? Adjectives. The flowery thing in our language.
All right, great.
right.
So we'll remember that, what
Yes.
adjectives are all about. Moving right along, Uncle Doc is here in the house. Good evening.
Yes, I just came. It's kind of the cloudy outside that you said earlier. I just want to stress again that mental arithmetic means that we're going to be doing a lot of work in our brain, using our brain to solve these equations. However, before we actually get into the actual problem we're going to solve, we have to know the basics. So last week, I think, or the week before, I told you guys to memorize your tables. 1 to 12 is very, very important. Then last week, I gave you some hints as to how to find out if a number is divisible by the different numbers. I'm going to review that again right now. And then today, we're going to do 2 new topics. We're just going to talk about the British and the metric system. And I think once we have the basic covers, next week we can actually start doing the different conversions. So quickly again, let's talk about the divisibility rule, like how do you know when a number can be divided by a smaller number. Now, a number is divisible by 2. We said if it's an even number, that means it's 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Those are all even numbers.
Yes.
Then a number is divisible by 3 if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. That means whatever number they give you, you add them up. And if that particular sum is divisible by 3, then the entire number can be divided by 3. Now for 4, it's a little different. For 4, you look at the last 2 numbers. Meaning if they say 7, 20, you look at the 2, 0. So if, here's a hint, if both numbers ends in a 0, then that number can be divided by 4.
You look at the last 2 numbers.
The last 2 numbers in that number. Even if it has 10 digits, the last 2 numbers. If it ends in 2, 0, that number can be divided by 4. Or if when you add those 2 numbers, that number is divisible by 4, then the whole number is divisible by 4. Let's slowly again. If you have like 7, 2, 0, you look at the 2, 0, right? 2, 0 is 20, right? And 4 can go into 20,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So you know that 4 definitely, 720 can be divided by 4. Okay. All right. For 5, we said, once again, that was easy. What you do, you look at the ones place, and if that number is a 0 or 5, then the whole number can be divided by 5.
If that number, come, Uncle Doc, take your time, you know, like, people say my head,
yes.
Like polo, come now. Divisible by 5. Okay,
yes.
So what I do with that one now?
You look at the ones place, the last number.
Okay.
And if that number is a 0 or a 5, then the entire number can be divided by 5.
Beautiful.
Then for 9 is the same thing as 3. You add that number. You add the number, and if the sum is divisible by 9, then that number can be divided by 9. And of course, we all know 10. Anything that ends in a 0 can be divided by 10. Please remember these rules because they're actually going to help you. Mental arithmetic is just as much about speed as in terms of accuracy. So you just have to make sure that not only you're trying to go fast, but you've got to make sure that you're accurate. Okay? So then now those are revision. For this week, what I want you guys to do, and I'm going to start simple again. There are only a few basic things that you have to remember in maths. Otherwise, everything else you read, and then you try and do one of the 4 procedures. So, once again, all of us know that, let's start about the English system. We measure in terms of inches. So we all know that 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. 36 inches is equal to 1 yard. 3 feet is also equal to 1 yard. Then you have 1,760 yards equals to a mile. Now, it's going to be hard for older people like us to remember that. But the young people, you guys, your brains are empty. I mean, not empty, but you have a lot of space compared to us. So please remember that 1,760 yards is equal to a mile, right? And then now, that's how we measure lengths in the British system. Then let's look at the liquid capacity. That means when you're measuring liquids, you have 3 teaspoons full, right? 3 teaspoons is equal to 1 tablespoon. I know those ladies who like to cook. If a child is sick, when the doctor tells you, give the child a tablespoonful, it's not the same as a teaspoonful. So please remember the conversion. Okay, you have 8 fluid ounces is equal to 1 cup. Now 2 cups is equal to 1 pint. 2 pints gives you 1 quart, and 4 quarts give you a gallon. Quickly again, 4 quarts is equal to a gallon. 2 pints give you 1 quart. 2 cups also gives you a pint, and you have 8 fluid ounces equaling to 1 cup. And the weight, again now, when you have a weight, 16 ounces equals to 1 pound, and 2,000 pounds equals to a ton. And we're going to stop there for today in terms of the British system. Now, quickly, the metric system now is a little different, and some people used to call it the European system, but now it's also used just about everything in the US also. So if you travel to the US or to Europe, you're not going to hear them talking about ounces and pounds. They're going to be talking about the grams and the kilograms, and you have to make sure that you know the difference. So basically, let's start again with the same measuring. Now, in the metric system, the basic of length, instead of we having inches and feet, they use the meter, right? So if you're talking about length in the metric system, you have the meter. If you're talking about fluid, then you have the liter. So you have the meter for distance, and you have the liter for liquids, and in terms of weight, you have the gram. So that's all you have to remember, those three things. Once again, they are the meter, the liter, and the grams. And the only thing now is, in front of it, they have the millimeter, the centimeter, the deciliter, right? And I want you to, because of time constraint, just look at those carefully, but it's like memorize them because they're going to be very helpful in terms of your conversion. But all you have to really remember is the liter, the meter, and the grams, right?
Well, thank you, Uncle Doc.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Jen in secondary school. Tell us who you are.
My name is Akina Maskell.
All right. Any favorite subject that you have?
Art.
Art. Beautiful. So you draw well.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So we'll be reading from The Little Rude Boys. That's the book we've been using on the program by Deshaun Brown. Deshaun Brown attends the Antigua Grammar School. Go right ahead, Akina. Chapter 3.
Dwayne's accident. It was a beautiful morning. The sun had just peeked its head from behind the clouds. Pablo, Hansel, and I were already catching lizards in the old house in the middle of the yard. We were using the stems from the coconut tree to catch the lizards. We caught a lizard and were playing with them when Pablo had an idea. Let's put the lizards on the girls, said Pablo. Okay, I said. Let's hide behind the tamarind tree, Hansel said. We snuck up behind the tree where the girls were sitting. I placed the lizard I had caught on Didi's shoulder. The girls began to scream and run. In all the commotion, Kanaja pushed Didi and made her fall down on her face. Granny woke up and saw us chasing the girls with the lizard. Boys, why are you provoking the girls with the lizards? Asked Granny. Nothing, we said. Nothing? Granny asked. Then why is Delicia crying? We were just playing, I said. The three of you go inside and sit down. Go sit in the chair and don't move for the rest of the day, said Granny. We sat on the chair with frowns on our faces. Deacon was happy that we got punished. He laughed at us. I'm glad, he said. You are so ugly, Hansel said to him. Your head is as big as a beach ball. Deacon ran off embarrassed. Don't worry, we'll fix him, I said, but we need a plan. I have a plan, Hansel asked. We can take a pack of balloons from Kanaja's party things, fill them with water, and throw them at him from off the balcony. That's a great plan, Hansel said. You're getting good at this, said Pablo to Hansel. We gave each other high fives. Granny came in and sat down on a tree across from us. She didn't say a word, and in a matter of minutes, her head was nodding. Hansel and Pablo were talking and began to get a little loud. Shh, I said to them, don't wake her. As soon as Granny was sound asleep, we snuck outside. I saw Dwayne's bike outside of the office, so I went and got it. Dwayne saw me and came running out of the office after me. Get off my bike, Dwayne shouted. Can I just get a ride? I asked. You think I'm going to eat it? I said to give me my bike, he repeated. I got off his bike and tossed it to the ground. Dwayne got mad and ran after me. I took off running. He gave up the chase. I went back into the house and sat on the chair. Granny was still fast asleep. A few minutes later, Dwayne came into the living room. Granny, please tell Deshaun not to interfere with my bike, he said angrily. Granny opened her eyes. I said nothing. I gave her an innocent look as if to say I didn't know what Dwayne was talking about. Don't try to play innocent with me. You weren't there 5 minutes ago. Where are the two other boys? I think they went to use the bathroom. Granny, he is lying. Look, they are over there playing with the girls, Dwayne said. Go and get them for me, Granny said. Dwayne leaned his bike up and walked off in the direction of the boys. Granny nodded her head and dozed off again. By the time Pablo and Hansel got back into the house, Granny was sleeping. Go get me the moving wrench, I said to Hansel. What for? Asked Hansel. Hurry up. Where is it? Hansel asked. I know where it is, said Pablo. What are you going to do with it? You guys ask too many questions, I said. Get it and you will see what I'm going to do. Pablo went for the wrench. When he came back, I took it and loosened the bolts on the front wheels of Dwayne's bikes. Cool, said Pablo. The three of us sat on the couch and waited. Dequan ran up and took the bike. Leave it, Hansel warned. Dwayne asked me to go get it for him, he said. Go ahead and take it to him, I said. Dequan rode off on the bike. In about 3 minutes, Kanaja came running into the house. Granny, Granny, Dwayne fell off the bike. I think he's dead, she said. Tears came out to her eyes. Granny was on her feet in no time. She rushed out of the house. I ran past her and headed toward Dwayne, who was still lying on the ground. My heart pounded. I was scared. When I got to Dwayne, he was covered in blood. There was a cut to the side of his head. He opened his eyes and looked at me, then closed them again. I kneeled beside him. I felt bad about what I have done.
See you that boy moderation. Thank you, Akina. Round of applause. And a shout out to Jenny Sutton.
Dame Gwendolyn Tongue.
Auntie Gwen.
Auntie Gwen.
Yes.
Auntie Gwen. Unfortunately, we lost her here recently. On the 28th of September, she passed away at home. What I wanted to do is not talk about her passing, but celebrate her life and her legacy. She was born on October 3rd, 1923. She was going to be celebrating her 89th birthday on the 3rd of October. So, you know, a long and storied life. She is known and celebrated for a number of things. She was the one that spearheaded the precursor to what we now know as Gender Affairs.
Yes.
The Directorate of the Gender Affairs.
Desk.
Correct. Started as a women's desk. She was a senator, author, entrepreneur, activist, TV personality, educator. And she has, to her credit, the longest running television show, the cooking program that she pioneered, Cooking Magic. It was like, I don't know, it was like Christmas every day, because each day she would come up with something new and innovative and different, and she would use our local fruits, vegetables, and she was extremely gifted and talented. Other than being a senator, a mother, an educator, a dame, in 2006, she received the Most Distinguished Order of the Nation, or DCN, for services to education and the community. Again, we talk about how uncommon sometimes common courtesy is.
Yes.
Well, today's common courtesy is ladies first. There is something in terms of common courtesy that a man extends to a woman, a gentleman extends to a lady when he encounters her. If a woman is at the door, if you're coming out, you open the door, you step back, you let her step in. If you are in front of her, you open the door. If it's a door that pushes inward, you push it in, you step aside, you let her step in. If it opens outward, you pull it open, you step back again, you let her step in first. So in terms of common courtesy today, guys, this is for you. So ladies, let the guys hold the door for you. It's okay. That's how you're supposed to be treated. All right then. So, and that is today's common courtesy. That would be ladies first.
Thank you, Auntie Am. Again, we did it again. High five.
High five. Give it up, girl. We are so hot
And it only gets hotter.
on 98.5 FM.
You know it.
Hello.
All right.